Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
Where are you right now in your marketing maturity? Now, obviously, as a coach, consultant, or small to medium business, your goal is to constantly be in front of your audience so that you can become visible, then become their obvious choice so that they can work with you, learn from you, or connect with you. All right. Now, this has to be done in stages or in phases, and a lot of marketing has to happen. A lot of strategy has to be put in place. A lot of tactics are used. How are you supposed to know which tactics will work or what strategy to follow, just predicated on where you are in your marketing maturity? So in this podcast, we're going to be talking about the 4 stages of marketing maturity for coaches and consultants and how to actually leverage that knowledge so that you can literally, become visible and become the obvious choice when you're finding clients, that you want to serve out there. So let's talk about marketing and how marketing changes just based on maybe the current level of maturity in your coaching business or your consulting business, or maybe your small to medium business. And the first thing that's really important that I want you to understand here is that your marketing is going to change, not based on the maturity of the business, but really on the maturity of the marketing in your business, okay? So it doesn't matter whether you've been in business for 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, or 40 years. The marketing maturity of your business is predicated on your own mindset. It's predicated on your own knowledge. It's predicated on your own appetite to grow your business. It's not how long you've been in the business. It's pretty much how long you have been working on the strategies and how your company is now perceived and the branding that you've put out there. Okay, so this is one of those things that a lot of people get wrong, whereas they start doing certain things just because they've seen their competitors doing and think that's how they only need to show up in the marketplace. But maybe their marketing maturity has not arrived at that point as yet. Oh, their marketing mindset has not actually showed up to be that which they are emulating or copying, which then basically means they will be spraying and praying with their marketing or just placing marketing bets that will not actually yield any result out there. Okay, so what I'm trying to say and what I mean with utmost love and respect is I know that growing your business is tough. So maybe right now you're probably just cold calling potential clients and having them maybe hang up in your face, and you're probably sending out hundreds of emails without getting as much as, hey, thank you so much for reaching out. And maybe you're wasting thousands of dollars on ad spend without generating any qualified leads. You know what happens in the marketing space? All strategies, all tactics work, but it depends if you're the right person to be implementing them. It depends if you've got the marketing maturity to actually yield the results that are supposed to be yielded, by that sort of tactic. So what I mean by this is, so maybe you've been in business for maybe say 10 years already, but you've realized that maybe all your business is coming from your own network and maybe referrals and maybe word of mouth. Okay, so what that means is the maturity of your marketing is almost zero, because you haven't done much of the marketing, that actually allows you to show up in front of audiences that don't quite know who you are and present your work and get them to buy in to the strategies, systems, processes, and tools that you're putting out there. So if you're putting your consulting, your training, your information, your expertise to people that already know who you are, people that are in your network, people that already have an incline and some sort of knowledge of who you are, that means your marketing is at zero. All right? Because you haven't tried to convince strangers into people that actually pay, stay, and refer. So if you know where exactly you are in the maturity scale, then you would actually have an understanding of what tactics you can use that would actually yield the best result for you while you're working on a long-term strategy in order for you to create a business that's profitable and enjoyable. So in essence, in the early days of you starting out your business, you want to do a lot more outreach, and you should be very focused to get in front of your ideal clients. That way, you become visible to them and you become the obvious choice, the obvious coach, the obvious accountant, the obvious, maybe financial broker that they're going to use, just predicated on the fact that you are in front of them and you're building a brand, you're building familiarity, and now they get to know you, like you, and trust you. And you know what? People do business with those they know, like, and trust. Okay? So when I say maturity in your marketing is based on where you are at in business, all right? It's not about how old your business is or how many years you've been maybe doing your coaching or consulting for. What I mean is, it actually depends on what stage your marketing is at in your business, what mindset you have towards using certain tactics. Are you good at SEO? Because you need time in the search engines in order for you to be found online. You just don't show up today and your SEO is already ranking. Okay, so like I said, you might have been 10 years in your business, but if you haven't been creating, some social media presence, is as good as you're not available. If you haven't been creating, content, it's as good as somebody who's starting. So you might be 10 years in business, or you might be 1 year in your business, or you might just be getting started. You know, what I'm going to share with you is really framed as to where you are right now in the marketing cycle of your business. All right, so let's start with the early stage. Maybe you're just getting started. This is where you are doing a lot of direct marketing, okay? And in the early stages, it actually means you don't have that much business coming your way. Nobody knows you. Nobody has trusted you. Maybe your processes and systems are not proven yet. Okay? But you might still be receiving some work from your networking connections. And I urge you to listen to episode number 45 in season 4, where we're talking about where to get your first consulting clients. And we're talking about your first degree connections, then the second degree connections, and then maybe a bit of direct outreach. And you're selling stuff that people actually want to buy. So that in and of itself is the early stage where you are literally talking to people that are going to provide you business just because they know who you are and they already like your work and already know or trust you somehow. Okay? So you're receiving some of this business from your networking connections. But really, if you're in this very early stage, right, it's typically meaning that you're just getting your coaching business or consulting business off the ground, then you're going to have to spend a lot more time. And you should spend a lot more time on outreach. How are people going to know you if you're not showing up in their space? How are people going to know about your business if there's no reviews of you out there or some sort of frame of reference or point of reference of what it is that you can do for them and what exceptions you have for these people, when it comes to, solving their problems and actually getting results for them. All right? And when I say outreach, what I mean is looking at maybe contacting your network, being on LinkedIn, and maybe doing all that cold calling and sending out those emails, right? You're looking at your connections and you're looking for ideal clients and possibly referrals when you do good work out there. So every person that you're going to meet, your teacher, your lawyer, your next door neighbor, your kid's teacher, anybody else who knows you firsthand, you need to be letting them know what it is that you're doing and to be on the lookout for, people that need, their problems solved based on the services that you're putting out there. So every person that you meet and those that you speak to is either in your network or part of your connections. And, either they can be an ideal client or they could be somebody that can refer you to an ideal client, because each and every one of us is connected to about 250 people. And that's why there's 6 degrees of separation. Like hell, you're connected to Prince Charles right now. So you might actually know the king, and you might have been connected to the queen, but now that she's dead, you now need to find out who in your network knows Prince Charles, King Charles the Third, just in case you need a favor from him. So you shouldn't be meeting anyone else other than the people that are going to move you, towards your goals in your business. All right, there's no point in you showing up in networks that are not going to result in work that matters for you. So in the early days, that's really where you should be focused, And the third one here is about direct clients. Okay, in your early, days of your outreach, you should be very, very focused on getting in front of your ideal clients. So that means going direct. Okay, this is about going direct to your ideal clients, either through your network or through your connections, or either just getting referrals from your ideal clients. That's where most of your time should be spent in the early days, and that's the level of maturity that you have in your business, and it should correspond to the amount of work that you're able to do, because you want to get as many testimonials and reviews as possible. The reason why we need this is so that we arm our clients and our referral partners with the good news of the work that we're doing out there. So you might say, well, I've heard about, blogging. I've heard about social media. I've heard about podcasting. I've heard about doing webinars. I've heard about YouTube. I've heard about TikTok and how it's very good to get leads or whatever else is the flavor of that month. I mean, yes, all those things can be good, but the challenge is, if you're blogging or if you're putting out a podcast like this or writing articles or on a speaking circuit or whatever it is, all that takes time. It takes time for you to actually shape your voice for other bloggers to seek you out so that you can write and they can be confident that whatever you're writing is going to actually help them reach their audience. So you should be working on that. But at this stage, right, you should spend maybe 80% of your time focused on outreach, because you're going to need to do the work. You're going to need to prove yourself. You're going to need to prove your concept. And the remaining 20% can be spent on what I call authority work, what I call thought leadership work, all right? The stuff of legends, writing books and creating content that will then help your second phase of maturity to invite inbound marketing, which basically is people seeking you out because they've heard about you. You've done the work. You've walked the walk. Now what you're doing is showing people you can help them by actually helping them in terms of content. So that's where people like us start putting podcasts like this every single day. I'm in that stage now, or a little bit further, So these are authority building activities. Can be blogging, writing on other people's publications, speaking, media, all of those things where people now seek your voice. You know what? Because you've spent the time, sharpening the X, so to speak. And all these things are good because, the reality is when you actually start landing speaking engagement or book deals, that puts you in front of a bigger audience, and you can borrow those audiences. And if you've got your systems and processes in place, those people will now follow you, consume your content, learn from you, and eventually buy from you. And that's the right kind of engagement that a lot of people aim for, but you gotta earn it. That is earned media, earned publicity, earned authority. All right? You cannot buy history, my friend. People want to see the track record. They want to see the wounds. They want to actually see when you almost died. And that's when people will then, open up their platforms for you to actually, share your word. But then again, to get the point where you actually out there, you can reach out to a conference or an event or a podcast and find out when their next one is and then apply for it and you actually hear back from it. That's months, that's years down the line. People need to know you, like you, and trust you. You just gotta keep reaching out, keep sending those emails, because that's the maturity level of your marketing. That's where you are. People haven't known you enough to trust you to come back home with them. All right? It takes time. It takes 21 years to be 21 years old. Put in the work. Whereas if you then go direct and then you're getting in front of the right kind of people, one day people will take notice. And going direct to people that you want as your ideal clients is much, much, much more effective in the early days than trying to spray and pray before you've even figured out what your message is. And guess what? The more people you talk to, it actually helps you clarify your message. And once you've clarified your message, now you can share it and invite people over through inbound marketing. This is usually the middle stage. So the middle stage, in your marketing maturity is that time that should be split maybe between 60% doing outreach, because you don't necessarily, you've got the clients now, you got the work coming in. Now you want to maintain it. Now you no longer maybe want market share. You now going after wallet share and recurring revenue, because that's what keeps you in business. People paying you over and over and over and over and over and over again. All right, so that's where you want to do 60% outreach and then maybe about 40% doing authority stuff. And this is when you start maybe, you've done the outreach, now the authority work, because maybe you're starting to outsource a bit of the, stuff that you don't want to do. So another way of maybe thinking about authority is inbound, all right? So that means you put content, ideas, information out, podcasts like this, and people come to you. You know why? Because you've created something that they want. You've answered the questions through their content and all that stuff. So all that they're now looking for is for you to solve their problems. All right? And at any moment, if you skip the work, it will show when you now putting out mediocre content out there or Me Too content that is not even a thought leadership piece. So another way of thinking of authority is inbound. So that means you're putting out content, ideas, and information out there so people can come to you. And the reason you want to have this kind of split of the 60-40 is that, when you're in the mid stage, you are already receiving maybe some coaching or consulting clients from your network, right? And then the business is there and things are starting to happen. But now you need to keep these people engaged. Now you've invited people to the party, all right? You're inviting people out there, and now they've showed up. Now you got to give them snacks. Now you got to perform for them, But now it's all about what you can actually do to accelerate that or replicate that and leverage all that outbound work that you've been doing. And if you spend too much of your time maybe doing authority and inbound in the mid stage, it might actually mean that your short-term profits or your short-term acquisition of clients can actually take a real hit. But guess what? You're investing in your business. You're not working with that which you've acquired before. So you want to be aware of what it is that you're doing, and you still want to be putting out a good deal of maybe outreach just so you can balance it off. And then, you can start to accelerate and increase your authority by putting out more content, because it takes time for the paint to dry, right? Whatever content you're putting out there, blogs, podcasts, or whatever it is, this is episode number 200 in the grand scheme of things in my whole series of podcasts. We've come a long way, people. But I'm still showing up every single day in your Spotify, in your Amazon, wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. It takes time, all right? This is a long-term asset that I'm creating. So you want to be building these longer-term assets in order to attract customers and clients in the future. That way, You become more visible. You leverage your time and become the obvious choice that your clients want to work with. You know? Because if you don't have content out there, you're just going to be relegated by price. And that's a race you don't want to win because it's a race to the bottom. And once you've gone past the first stage, you've gone past the second stage, you're now in the developed stage of your marketing maturity. This is where the fun part happens. And this is where a lot of people think they need to be before they've put in the work. And when you get to this developed stage, work is coming by itself. You actually can fire clients like I did this afternoon. You know, a lady who doesn't appreciate the work that is being done, I had to let them go. Let them go to where price is revered. We value quality work, So when you get to this developed stage, right, then really what's going to happen is that you're now going to be doing almost 100% authority or inbound, okay? And the reason for this is simple, all right? When you get that late and more developed in this marketing sort of game, you already have a steady flow of clients. You will probably have plenty of business coming your way. You've got your systems in check. You've got your teams, firing on all cylinders. People will be reaching out to you. You're probably going to be getting a lot more inquiries, and leads will be coming through your website or through all those different kind of things that you're doing. You're speaking, you're coaching, you're training, your information, your expertise, podcasts like this, because you've been putting content out there, and now it's maturing. The paint has dried. People can sit on the bench and you can say, here, I created this for you. Because you've been building it up through the stages. But a lot of people want to skip this process. A lot of people want to skip educating their audience. Every time that you have an opportunity to be in front of somebody who can be your potential client, utilize it. Grab it with both hands and feet. Because everybody's also clamoring for their attention. All right? So once you've gotten it, utilize it. So you don't need to spend much time going out, maybe sending, hundreds of emails without getting any response, or maybe, cold calling potential clients. You don't need that because you have invested in the content that people are seeking out there. You know why people go to the internet? Have you ever asked yourself this question? People come to the internet to get information. They don't come to Google. They come to your website. They come to your financial planning website. They come to your accounting website. They come to your coaching website. That's what they're coming for, to get information, to make sense of the world around them. So if you're the person who's giving them that information, guess what happens? They get to know you, like you, and trust you. And people do business with those they know, like, and trust. But if you're in the early stage and you try to do maybe what a company should be doing in their marketing at a later stage, you're going to face a really uphill battle. You're probably going to be putting content out there and you don't have an audience. And now you're hoping Facebook will find your audience for you. It don't work like that. Facebook only amplifies something that's working. He can't put lipstick on a pig and expect it to be Naomi Campbell or whatever latest model is out there, or Kim Kardashian today. I mean, it doesn't mean that you can't get out there. And you might say, hey, Prosper, but I know a lot of people that just blogged and were very successful at that. Yes, that's fine. But in most cases, have you asked them how long it actually took them for their blogs to start being noticed? Even Gary Vee, he did 1,000 episodes of his wine library. It takes time, even for the biggest people. It took 10,000 hours for the light bulb to be created. What makes you think you can just show up with one website, being a one-click wonder? One scroll, through somebody's social media or Facebook or maybe your website, and they've already finished you. They've already finished your digital footprint. Man, I've got videos of me when I was still very young and I'm yelling at people and I didn't even make sense, but they're still there. The internet does not forget. The digital footprint is there. It was there. People saw me working. They seen my kids grow up. I documented every process, every step of the way. If you're a one-click wonder, you haven't even maybe written 10 blogs or 100 or 3,000 blogs, my man, you're still spraying and praying with your marketing. You need to get down to the brass tacks. Really put out stuff out there that creates a digital footprint. And that's what people respect. I know for me, it's quite a few years of putting a lot of content before I even had enough inbound coming in. 4 years without anybody clicking on my website or anything else, but I was showing up every single day. And that's why we always sort of need to balance, that by doing your direct outreach and building relationships and getting in front of your ideal clients and going out and looking for what I call active referrals and seeking people who can connect you with your ideal clients. So there are a lot of tactics out there that people sort of do, which I call random acts of marketing. So maybe somebody's blogging, cold calling, direct mailing out there, social media, advertising, pay-per-click, SEO, webinars. Maybe somebody's spinning a sign outside. I've seen people doing that, even, inviting people to like a cafe or something like that. Maybe you're doing seminars or events. You're probably going out with your hero's journey, your story, and you've probably written a book before you even had a strategy around that. You're sitting around setting appointments. You're doing a lot of digital marketing, content marketing, newsletters, all that stuff. I call this random acts of marketing. All right. It's like you're going to a Tats Lotto or your lottery house or post office and you're buying all the scratch cards that they have, and you hope one of them is the winning card. All right? Stop buying marketing scratch cards out there. All right? So if you want to advance to the next stage of your consulting business, or you don't even know what stage you're in, because there's no point in you just doing a crap shot on your stuff. This is your life. This is your money. And sometimes if it feels like no one wants to buy what you're selling, I know you rely on your business for you to pay rent and to put food on your table. If nobody's buying from you, it can put an enormous strain on your emotions, and you're terrified having to give up on your dreams. Whereas you should be out there helping people by actually helping them. All right? So this is how the marketing maturity mix should be, and how you should actually allocate your time and focus on your business to actually grow based on what stage you're in. Are you in the early stage? Are you in the mid stage? Or are you in the late or more developed stages, so that you know what tactics to be using? Because all of these things work, but they might not work for you. So it will then shift your strategy from being outbound to inbound. So if you're looking for help with your own marketing and advancing to the next stage so you can attract more clients easily and consistently, I advise that you reach out to us. livelongdigital.com.au. All right. What we'll do really is we'll work hands-on with you and develop a strategic plan, and then deep dive and work through your ideal client clarity, strategic messaging, look at your consulting, your coaching, or your small business offers, what fees you're charging, and maybe the pricing around the work that you're doing. Because a lot of people, surprisingly enough, are still charging per hour. And I'm talking to you lawyers. Yeah. So we can optimize your business model so that it actually suits where you are and the marketing maturity that you're at. And pretty much once we know where you are and what else is working within your business, we'll actually help you set up a marketing engine that actually works, and a lead generation system to consistently attract your ideal clients, so you never have to beg for people to buy from you ever again. A lot of us are doing random acts of marketing out there. They're not quite sure what, stage of marketing they are. Because you know what? Good marketing actually moves numbers. So do you know what numbers you're trying to move? Because at any moment, you are at a different marketing stage. In the early days of your outreach, you should literally just be focused on getting in front of your ideal clients. In the mid stages, you now, do a bit of, inbound to create that authority. It's a tough balancing act. But guess what? We can help you here at Live Long Digital. I can't wait to see you elevate to the next stage and stop doing random acts of marketing and be mature about your marketing. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au